A splendid morning and welcome to Sports Central, from Spectrum Television, all the way from the beautiful hills of in Gorton State, Akwa. But my name is Funny Tina. Quite excited to be back on your screens on a day where that precedes African excellence at the ongoing 2026 FIFA World Cup, sending out Netherlands to dot side. Quite a very experienced the World Cup history, but the Moroccans to send them out of the World Cup. We'll talk about these and even more. Go to Athletics, where Toby Amusen continues to send tongues wagging as she gets a very impressive campaign. Talking about the Diamond League, we'll also look at the Wimbledon, one of the biggest Grand Slams of the year, where Novak Djokovic and Yannick Sinner were amongst winners yesterday. We'll talk about each and every one of these on the flip side of the show. But remember, you should go follow us on all social media handles. Head to Facebook, and Twitter, go to TikTok as well. But most importantly, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and make sure you don't miss out on our amazing content. We'll take just a quick break. When we're back, Sport Wrap Up in full. We'll start with the world record holder Toby Amusen says she's not under pressure to maintain her top form this season after claiming victory of the year at the Paris Diamond League Sunday. Amusen called her season's best 4.28 seconds to win the women's 100-meter hurdles ahead of American duo Grace Stark, who finished second in 12.38 seconds, and Alicia Johnson, who placed third, 12.39 seconds. It was the third time the 29-year-old has clocked 12.28 seconds this season, having at the same time at the Diamond League and the Rabat Diamond League. The victory was her second on the Diamond League circuit this season, following her triumph in Rabat. She had earlier won the new Taipei City Athletics Open this month and also claimed gold at the African Championships in Botswana. Poised to challenge for another Diamond League title after winning 3 consecutive crowns between 2021 and 2023, and having recorded the second fastest time in the world this season behind Masai Rosel's 12.14 seconds. The Nigerian insisted she was not feeling any pressure to finish the campaign strongly. I'm moving from one excellent start to another as we go to tennis now, where Novak Djokovic made a start to his 21st Wimbledon campaign under the Sand roof on Monday night when he battled past China's Wu Yiping 6-4, 5-7, 6-4, 6-4 in a gripping encounter. To the delight of the lively crowd, the Chinese star continually let rip on the forehand, knocking the Serbian off balance at times with his width and depth of shot. However, as often been the case at the championships, Djokovic refused to succumb to the Wu barrage as the Serbian dug deep to win the third set and went down into the lockdown mood in the key exchanges in the fourth to improve to 21 wins in Wimbledon first round. The Serbian defended 6 break points in the fourth set before eventually triumphing after 11 minutes. Still sticking with Wimbledon stories, number 7 seed Cody Kokogov ended a 4-match losing streak on grass in emphatic fashion in Wimbledon on Monday by beating Germany's Tamara Korpasz in under an hour. Gov hadn't won a grass court match of any kind since beating Sonny Katal in the third round of the 2024 championships, but she proceeded to lose in the round of 16 that year to compatriot Emma Navarro, a result which began a 4-match skid on the surface that included a 2 losses record in 2025. After winning Garros with a first round loss to Diana Yastremska at the All England club at the second of those, and a 3-set defeat to Paulo Badosa in a grass court match this year in Berlin 2 weeks ago. But the American won 9 consecutive games from 2-all in the first set to raise away with the eventual 6-2, 6-1 victory. And back home to Africa, the Confederation of African Football has commenced search for a substantive Secretary General less than 4 months after appointing Nigerian Football Administrator Samson Adamu as acting Secretary General. CAF has advertised the vacant position on its official website, inviting qualified candidates to apply for the role, which is responsible for overseeing the day-to-day administration and management of African football's governing body. The Secretary General serves as CAF's Chief Administrative Officer and is expected to oversee the implementation of the organization's strategic objectives while ensuring the efficient running of its operations. According to the vacancy notice, interested and qualified applicants have until July 10th to submit their applications. The move signals CAF's intention to appoint a permanent occupant of the most important administrative positions within the organization. Now to the World Cup, where Cody Gakpo was denied an emotional winner as Morocco came from behind to beat the Netherlands on penalties in Monterrey to showcase their World Cup credentials and reach the last 16. Morocco dominated much of the game, but were thwarted by goalkeeping from Bart Verbruggen and the woodwork who had announced the loss of his unborn son on Saturday, smashed home 18 minutes from time after a lightning fast break. But in a grandstand finish, Issa Diop thumped home a stoppage time header, sending the game to extra time and ultimately penalties. Dogs missed 3 of their sport kicks, which allowed Ismail Bari to steal a 3-2 win and book a date with Canada in Houston on Saturday. That's all we have for you on Sport Wrap-Up, but more to come just after the break. Stick around.
Welcome to this exciting moment. We talk about interesting features in the world of sports. At Sports Central, and my name is Blyden Ukem. On Sports Central this morning, and no better talk than to talk about an African team that's made it to the next round, the round of 16 of the World Cup. Quite exciting in this one. Morocco had to beat Netherlands on penalty shootout after the game spanned through 1-1. It's quite exciting. The details of this particular game will be stated out as fast as possible. Well, the big question would be who would be next as we look at the fixture and the understanding that follows through with the World Cup. Similarly, Wimbledon and the world of tennis has been racking up the numbers, moving from stage upon stage, big gongs showing what they have to do. And the likes of Toby Amosun of Nigeria's 100 meters hurdles record holder in the championship, also a downplay season pressure after Paris win. It will be something we'll look forward to. Also, amid of all of these, key talking point in the world of football, what be the shenanigan that's taking place? Enzo Maresca are being announced as the new manager of Manchester City, but Chelsea are making their demands. The demands regarding the fact that Enzo Maresca left them half season to join Manchester City. The conversation is that of tapping, that of negotiation with another club while still being under contract, and Chelsea are asking for compensation in that regard. It will be a holistic conversation this morning as the guys are here with me ready for the talking point across all board. To David at the far corner are being part of this mix. To good morning and funny tonight. Good morning. So I'll start with you. Good morning.
Well, a delighted morning to be back, and I'm really excited about what's happening, especially in the world of football, from the FIFA World Cup, the antics of it to speculations around the transfer window, as much as also talking about the Wimbledon, but I think I'm particularly excited about football stories.
But David, particularly excited about football stories. Unfortunately, I don't know where he stands, but it should be football. So unfortunately, good morning. I'm quite exciting. Morocco made it, especially beating the Netherlands.
Oh, it shows it underlines the African excellence of this year's World Cup, and I'm hoping to see more, not just Morocco. We need to see more from African countries.
Well, we need to see more from African countries, and swiftly we'll try to do the magic the way it has to be, starting from other sports and quickly switch into football stories as fast as possible. We'll begin looking at the athletics as Toby Amosun, Nigeria's record holder, when it has to do with 100 meters hurdle, downplaying season's pressure after Paris win. Well, you've been following the tradition that comes with Toby Amosun. I remember on this show at some point we talked about a decline for Toby Amosun, but pressure for her, she says, no pressure?
No pressure whatsoever.
Well, I remember when we had this conversation at the start of the year, before the African Athletics Championship, where there was several criticism that Toby Amosun may not be able to, match what she did in the 100-meter hurdles at the international scene. And as I said, it's not really necessary whether or not she matches. The very fact that she's adding up the numbers at the international stage should be much more of a praise for her. And just recently, in the recent concluded, Diamond League as well, she matched her season's best, year's best, and that to a large extent shows the very fact that she's also progressing. As a matter of fact, started off at the African Athletics Championship, had the Xiamen, League as well, the Xiamen Diamond League, and of course, other ones followed suit. And she's been able, if you look at the consistency, the seconds which she's also finished 100-meter hurdles, one would say she's been on a steady progression. As a matter of fact, I do not think it's necessary to, power pressure on yourself. It has to do one step at a time. At this game, this particular race, she also faced international, athletes who to a large extent are also top of their game, but she finished first ahead of others. So it certainly shows the quality of the lady Toby Amosun, and I think it can actually just get better for her, because the moment you soak in pressure, then you're meant to, of course, off your lines. And I think at the moment, Toby Amosun just has to focus and take it one step at a time.
Taking it one step at a time is that conversation for Toby Amosun at a time of 12.28 seconds for her, talking about doing so well at the Diamond League event in Paris, the Paris Diamond League on Sunday. Well, she got better from big superstar American duo Grace Stark, who finished second in 12.38 seconds, and Alasha Johnson, who plays a third, 12.39 seconds. And the third time, Toby Amosun is getting this number, talking about 12.28 seconds in it. First time we talk about the German Diamond League and the Rabat Diamond League in May. In recent times, building that conversation, building momentum even further. The question is, what has changed for Toby Amosun? Can she break the door? Because the ceiling now is 12.28 seconds. Only time will tell. But quickly, we switch gear and talk about the world of tennis. The world of tennis has been built around grass court competition in Wimbledon, and Novak Djokovic had to set a Tsitsipas clash with hard-fought opening at Wimbledon a win. Similar, we talk about the likes of Yannick Sinner surviving Kekmanovic and scary fall in dramatic Wimbledon, a 5-setter. Well, Dani Medvedev advances in stretch set against Silic. And in the women's game, we'll talk about the likes of Coco Gauff. But unfortunately, now let's look at the numbers from the men's game. Some big superstars. I think the biggest talking point would be Djokovic's setting entry with Tsitsipas at a clash. Talking about first entry performance for Novak Djokovic. The likes of Sinner also racking up the number and moving even further. And Dani Medvedev, the stack of big superstars in this.
Oh, definitely. I think it doesn't get even bigger than the Wimbledon when it comes to the grass court swing. This is the biggest event when it comes to the grass court too. Definitely expect the big boys to turn up. Unfortunately, we don't have Carlos Alcaraz. So it's been a very, very lovely one.
It could have been a complete cycle if it was part of it.
Exactly. But Novak Djokovic had to dig deep to get the victory over a Chinese superstar. Woo. So I'm looking at his chances now of winning this one. I'm asking myself, if he struggled against Wu, when he gets to meet tougher opponents, they are definitely, superstars who will tougher than Wu in this competition. What's going to happen? But still, you cannot rate the man best of one challenge. So I'm expecting to get better as the competition progresses. Definitely good enough to see him progress, but we will need to see more from Novak Djokovic at 37. I remember when he was speaking about Serena Williams coming back at 44. He says, I don't see myself playing at 44. So you look at him at 37 is already thinking about what should I do next? Am I dropping the racket and maybe looking at coaching or something else? So this is definitely one of those beginning of the end, moments. So for Novak Djokovic, it's just basically enjoy yourself, and probably if success comes along the way, you take it.
Well, interestingly, if success comes along the way, you have to take it. But Novak Djokovic couldn't woo in this one. But it's basically what it is: a 4-setter at the end of it, 6-4, 5-7, 6-4, 6-4 victory for Novak Djokovic. But we're trying to be as fast as possible to get to football stories around the world. So quickly, let's talk about the women's tennis. As Coco Gauff aimed first Wimbledon win in 2 years, and similarly, Roland Garros champ Andreva handles Linette to reach the second round. Well, to David, the following proceedings. Early rounds, we're talking about it. A first round for most of them, and we're looking at the numbers, counting Coco Gauff aiming the first Wimbledon win in 2 years. Always a struggle for her when it has to mark this long period of time on grass court, and it becomes concerning. But a first start for Coco Gauff, quite a positive one. Put that side by side with Andreva. And when you win the Roland Garros, I may expect more for you. Just how we talked about Toby Moson, the pressure begins to come. Now, Roland Garros champion Andreva handling Lena to reach the second round. What are we expecting from Andreva this time out?
Well, I think it's it will be really confusing for me if I start pounding pressure on the youngster who recently won the Roland Garros.
Well, they can afford not to have the pressure, especially when you're making the numbers.
Yeah, as much as I understand pressure is quite high now, especially when you win a big Grand Slam as big as the Roland Garros. But then again, look at the very fact that this is our biggest win in our career for 18-year-old. So that's so large. She's been around.
She's been around
the scene. The last 3 years.
So not a newcomer to it. I performed quite well at the age of 15.
Yes.
And while talking about it, seems like she's taking a cue from Coco Gauff. Similar story with Coco Gauff while she was in school.
Absolutely.
Performing a little here, and then she won the Grand Slam. Pressure started mounting. A little shadow of Coco Gauff's self.
After that, US Open win.
Absolutely. And now Andreva at the age of 18.
It might just be a similar story for Mara Andreva because I made expectations now, many pressure coming in after you've won the Grand Slam. But I'm not expecting her to, keep that consistency level going. Good for her. She was able to, win her first match at the Roland Garros level. But I still do not think, Mara Andreva in this one can be looked at as one of the title contenders for, the Wimbledon. Yeah, maybe would say it's thrown wide open at the moment, but when you look at the crops of players that are participating right here, I do not still think that the lady would go that far to the finals. Good one for Coco Gauff as well. Good win for her. First win on grass in 2 years. It is not just in the Roland Garros. Almost all the grass court competition that happened last 2 years, she's actually struggled. So that's, I guess, to show you that Coco Gauff is also in for the taking as well. And I'm looking forward to see how, Coco Gauff and, of course, Mara Andreva would, and other, superstars are also here as well. So the Wimbledon is not just basically about them. We're still talking about Zabalenka and the rest of others as well. But I think in the end, we may just meant to see, some breakout stars as well. Mara Andreva could actually, keep that consistency level going.
Consistency also is being the watchword for big superstars, especially when you're a youngster and moving to the next level of competition. A story of Mara Andreva. But before we let go of other sporting activities and focus on football story, we have to look at the fixture that's taking place. I think, and from a mains point of view, no big fixture, big player featuring in the fixture, so one real roll call on it. At a women's point of view, just early rounds of game, a first round, I think the biggest superstar that we're featuring today in women's game would be Madison Keys taking on fellow American Dare in this one. Who's unseeded? Madison Keys seeded 26 in the world. And similarly, later on in the day, we'll have the likes of Beatriz Haddad of Brazil are taking on Timofeva. Well, I can bet it's the first time you're hearing the name Timofeva in this one, but exciting unseeded player in the first round of the Wimbledon competition. Quite exciting. In the coming days, we'll talk about the next round and the next round of quarterfinals. Big question would be, who would make it to the finals and probably go all the way to win it? And from a women's point of view and the men's point of view, no Carla Zakaras in this one, no problem. But the likes of Novak Djokovic are available, and Yannick Sinner also ready for this one. And Danny Medvedev, Stefano Tsitsipas, and on and on. But now we'll go on a quick break, and when we're back here with football stories all around the world, talking about the World Cup, most importantly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, and we'll tell you all the story about how Morocco made it to the round of 16. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. It's your Sports Central. And my name is Blyden Kimutweda, having fun tonight. Still made for company, going nowhere, and ready for the talking point in the world of football. As usual, I say, football, here we go. First on football, they say charity begins at home. So we come and back up. It has to do with Nigerian Premier Football League transfers. Kano Pillars reappoints Salusi Yusuf as head coach. From Fontina, I'll start with you in this one now. I don't know what the last time out was for Salusi Yusuf at Kano Pillars, but another sting with Kano Pillars in this one. What do you make of it?
Well, first, we were talking about it yesterday on the show, radio show with UT. Salusi Yusuf went outside the country, right? They did go so well with the Beninese outfit. Gave them their best ever finish in the Benin, Premier League. Took them to the CAF Confederations Cup as a result and had to come back to Nigeria. I think there's a reason for that. We definitely know maybe the money in the Nigerian league is better than what we see there in the Benin League. So at the end of it, we all know what it is about. But Salisu Yusuf, I think, is always going to be a very good tactician. On a good day, Salisu Yusuf is one of the best we have in the country, one of the best hands. Unfortunately, because I'm sure many people do not really see him in that light, but you have to agree with me. When you look at the best coaches we have, Salisu Yusuf is up there with the best of the best right here. So for Kano Pillars, they've been I don't really remember the last season where we really had Kano Pillars challenging for the league title. You have to go far back as 2015, 2016. So it's always really been that we know they are heavyweights in the Nigerian Premier Football League, but they've not really gotten close to touching gold. And I feel if there's any manager who is capable of bringing the glory days back for the side video side, I think it's definitely going to be Salisu Yusuf, and good to have him back in the country as well.
Well, the other conversation is performed so well, but before now there were concerns and constraints regarding him, especially at age grade competition. And Nigerian said he shouldn't have any business being part of it. He's been around for a while. But the man has owned his own somewhat somehow, had to leave the country outside and perform. Maybe it's a cue, which will be David, that many Nigerians have to do also. When things are slowing down for you in the country and Nigeria thinking you're not do well, maybe just go try your hand somewhere like he did with the Benin side and show class and dominance over there and back to Kano Pillars. Put that side by side with the fact that I think it was in 2007, 2008 campaign and that Salisu, won the league with Kano Pillars. A return to Kano Pillars for the demand for him.
Well, I think at the moment it would be somehow another review for Kano Pillars and Salisu Yusuf, because he's also coming in. He would also create demands. We'll get his own players in order to perform at top level. So in as much as Kano Pillars are bringing him, they have to ensure they are able to get the players Salisu Yusuf wants at the moment. Yeah, he's a quality gaffer. You've made mention of when the stakes are down for you should be able to take it up. Emmanuel Omunike did that when he went outside the shores of a country, spent a few years outside, and then returned back. But unfortunately, it hasn't really been the same case for him. But so for Salisu Yusuf, he's actually only shown in the NPFL. That's why anytime there is actually, a chance for him to join a new club side, those club sides will always come. He was on the radar alongside Daniel Gumodede, but he was chosen due to his level of strides, with Kano Pillar side. So I think it's quite good for him. But the NPFL season comes in no distant time. We're looking forward to see whether or not he will be able to repeat that same feat.
I'm on the perspective coming in this one, and more pressure. To David has raised the point, especially when you look at Emmanuel Omunike leaving the country and performing quite well. First it was at Tanzania and not so well for him when he went to Zambia at Zanaco, but returning, it's still really not added up for him. Well, we can only cross our fingers and hope that good fortunes come for the man, Salisu Yusuf at Kano Pillars. Despite winning the title in time past, there were many constraints around him in Nigerian football before he left to Benin Republic, and now he is back. And similarly, quickly, let's talk about another player that's done so well. From Nigeria's point of view, it has to be Frank Onyeka completing permanent Coventry, a move ahead of Premier League return. Well, Utume David, I'll stick with you in this one. Frank Onyeka, there were conversations prior to the season, new players coming for Frank Lampard at the club, and would he still be? But interestingly, he signed a permanent move. Good for him in this one.
Yeah, good move, I would say, because there was never going to be a chance of being a regular at Brentford. So when you stay in a club style where you were arguably one of their best players,
where you trusted,
concluded the season, and the coach is also, ensuring that you also form, part of that particular squad ahead of the new season. There's needless of, trying to, go another loan, and maybe outside the shores of England. Coventry are playing the Premier League next season under the tutelage of Frank Lampard. And we know how Frank Lampard, and of course, his union with the man Onyeka has been, particularly in the English Championship. So I think it's a good move for him. Yeah, many would say the quality of Brentford, the demands and the ambition, maybe a little bit bigger than Coventry at the moment, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is play regularly, gain back your confidence, and be that top class and world class midfielder. You never can tell. After the end of the season, demands could actually come for you from a club side bigger than Coventry. So good move, I must say, for Frank Onyeka.
A good move for Twitter. Talks about it for Frank Onyeka even further and getting even interesting. Now, quickly we switch here from Frank Lampard and Coventry and all of that's happening in there. Still within the context of Nigeria here, that Rivers United officially commence pre-season training ahead of upcoming 2026-2027 football season under the leadership of technical manager Finidi George. A Pawtucket-based club held its first session on Monday. We're looking forward to the next season that's happening on as the early phase camp focuses heavily on base line fitness, technical cohesion, and integrating fresh players' arrival. It will be a core of most Nigerian teams moving forward. We can only ask for the better, especially when also look at the next team preparation for Akwa United will be something to talk about, at least at the NNL level for Akwa Ibom indigents in that regard. But congratulations, Rivers United, preparing so early, and maybe a season of better fortune for them. Last season they were so close to winning the league, but lost out at the tail of it. It's basically what it is. Coach Finidi George, one of the big names in the Nigerian Premier Football League. Quickly, let's leave home and go to Europe. And not Europe this time. We go to the Americas then, and North America in particular, Mexico, United States of America, and Canada. It's the World Cup season, and World Cup getting quite interesting. The first edition of the 48-span team of the World Cup, we've seen the round of 32 for the first time in the World Cup, and now the context took place in the round of 82 and moving to the round of 16. And many says this is when the World Cup is beginning. What we had at the group stages were preambles to the World Cup, but exciting African team making us proud. But let's start with the first game, Brazil against Japan. I remember Fonitina saying we can't really trust this Brazilian team. They struggle a bit. Japanese side, you might maybe regard them as the best Asian team so far at this World Cup. I gave Brazil a run for their money, but it took the Arsenal winger Martinelli to score in the 96th-minute winner for Brazil to knock out Japan. A late goal, Fonitina, and this one for Brazil. At some point it was 1-1. Vinicius Jr. was scintillating as usual, but didn't score in this one. And that's by scoring in the previous games they've played.
Well, we all knew it was going to be a difficult game for both sides. We look at Brazil, look at Japan, very good sides. Yes, I've not really been, heaping presses on the Brazilian side, but there's one thing that's, I stood out for them. I think they've gotten better with each game. The first game against Morocco, struggled. Second second game against Haiti 3-0, but still we saw some struggles in front of goal. Next game was against Scotland. It was a more comprehensive performance. And now against Japan, I think it was the best performance I've seen from this Brazilian side.
They conceded first.
The first 45 minutes were total shambles. Everyone is talking about it. That first 45 minutes, I think it's more of a recurring theme now for Carlo Ancelotti. We saw that Real Madrid, he's always playing too poorly in the first half, always relying on comebacks. I wonder why, because is he unable to read the game until it happens? Looks like he's just waiting. Well, let's see what happens in the first half. Second half, we'll sort it out. Because it happened in Real Madrid towards the tail end of his career, always having comebacks. But whatever happens, good to see Brazil in the round of 16. A Japanese superstar came out to say Brazil is not the team it used to be in, the yesteryears. We're having a poorer Brazil side, and he came out on the field of play and he saw Brazil winning it. So it's just you don't have to talk about it before it happens. But for Brazil, congratulations to them. See them in the round of 16.
Congratulations for Brazil. I'm moving to the round of 16. Question would be, what next for them? We're going to give you details of the fixtures of all the next round of the fixtures in a bit. But we're there with another game, surprisingly, Paraguay. Interesting feature in Paraguay's qualification process, looking at the manager of Paraguay and what he's done with the side. Many praise for the manager, but during the qualifiers, we're able to beat Argentina, beat Brazil, beat Uruguay, and qualify for the World Cup after how many years? A couple of years in that regard. I came to the World Cup, and now Paraguay are in the round of 16, booted Germany out. And many will say, well, it wasn't an easy game, but at the end of it, you see, regulation time ended 1-1. Paraguay scored first, Germany equalized, Kai Havertz scoring in that regard. But the conversation is going to penalty. These days, better not go to penalty. It seemed like the penalty seemed to favor the smaller teams in that regard. Or maybe many would argue in the case of Morocco differently, but penalty shootouts seem to favor the smaller teams as they stand. Paraguay into the next round of competition, round of 16 in that regard.
Well, I think Julian Nagelsmann have actually had question marks to one side, especially for this German national team, because it's a similar incident with what happened to Brazil in their first game. Carlo Ancelotti was really finding it hard to, understand his attacking options. That he found that in the second game after seeing those lapses in the first game. But for Julian Nagelsmann, it's been a typical example of the same thing we've seen since the start of the season. Started this particular game with Kai Havertz as the number 9, and many observers complain about Kai Havertz. Yeah, he's not a terrible attacking player, but then in situations where you have a team or opponent sitting back, Kai Havertz will not be able to break those loopholes and of course find those passes to put in the back of the net. So I think for Julian Nagelsmann would have brought in a striker. We saw in the previous game before the round of 35, where Dennis Undav came off the bench to score 2 goals for the side. So what happens when you do not play conventional number 9? And Paraguay were defending all through the entire duration of the game. That's why they were able to get something out of this particular game. Find ways of winning these games early. And I think for the German national team, a really big setback for them, because when you look at the pedigree of Germany and look at the pedigree of Paraguay, one would actually imagine this Germany side should have accurately got the better Paraguay even before going into extra time. So I think Julian Nagelsmann have got this and not really about the players themselves.
Well, and for the other conversation would be what the manager would rather do, because Toby Davis mentioned it, but it started with 2 attacking players in here, Kai Havertz and Undav, Dennis Undav in it. 2 of them are being a blunt attack at the end of it because Paraguay had to sit back. And the other argument, maybe in favor of Kai Havertz, is no matter how I want to talk about it, he scored goals for them. 3 goals in this competition account for something. But at the end of it, are we getting to that point? The problem of Germany. I remember early 90s and thereabout, we talk about Germany as the German machines because of how fast they move for the ball. And there's been an argument since Pep Guardiola coach Bayern Munich. The change of style had changed. They want a tiki-taka kind of system. They want to build from the back and knock. That quick pace not really happening. And maybe on the other hand, undervalued in terms of the superstars they've had, what's really wrong with German football? Not just at this tournament, but even in previous tournaments.
Well, I think it basically has to be the fact that, yes, modern football has changed. Look at the kinds of players Germany had 2 stages when they used to have those fast attacking players. Look at now, Kai Havertz is not so fast. You look at German Musiala, not so fast. Look at players who started for them, not so fast. Leroy Sané has lost most of his pace. He's 29 now. So it's not really that Leroy Sané we used to know when he was younger. So when you look at them now, they have to adopt a different approach. Also, modern football has changed. You cannot just be a team who attacks every time. It's just
African teams are still playing their style of football. Not playing.
Not African. Morocco, for example.
Morocco has always played that way, tilting towards Europe. They have a boundary with Spain, so tilting in that. But African teams are playing that style. I don't know, but football has changed. Probably Germany has changed more than football.
But I think the quality of players they also have recently is also questionable. Because when I look at the likes of Kai Havertz, Dennis Sundaf. Typically, when we have likes of Miroslav Klose in those days, Thomas Muller, they'll be sitting on the bench, or some of them won't even make it to the World Cup.
Yeah.
So I think over the years, it has also evolved to having not so top quality players.
A top point attacker also could be a factor.
Yeah,
not really having a top point attacker. Over the years, Germans were known to have a real top attackers.
Absolutely. So I think all of that is also, seeing that the German national team are not really that top level, nation, especially at the World Cup level. But I think maybe you never can tell what will happen before the next World Cup.
When you have a league like the Bundesliga, a top league in that regard, you don't have just Bayern Munich, you have other teams scattered around.
Yeah.
Are you trying to tell me that you have to depend on just the big superstars or the iconic name you have? There are no other players in between, and just like maybe the argument might not necessarily suit from an English point of view, depending on what they're doing, but we're beginning to see more integration by the English side comparatively to Germany.
Well, I think it's just, of course, a point to look out for particularly. But I still feel, because how many German players actually do really well outside the shores of Germany? That's another question to ask. We've seen a few of them go to England, still flatter to the sea. Florian Wirtz at the moment still haven't really lived up to the expectation of it. So I think for the German national team, it's about added quality. The moment we start seeing that, quality being added to the national team players, then definitely we'll have, and owing to the very fact that they also have a young coach in Julian Nagelsmann, I think that's also been one of the problems at the moment. But the more quality players comes into that setup, the more brilliant German team would become.
The more brilliant German teams would become. And many arguments are from the World Cup, especially regarding African teams and what's making African teams stronger, is the fact that, because I listened to Thierry Henry made an analysis of that, and he said, look, some of players of African heritage who were playing for European countries and I'm going back home to play for African teams, and it's making African countries a lot stronger. You can question that. Look at DR Congo, how strong they are. Look at Cape Verde, how strong they are, and on and on and on. People have their choices to where they want to play, and but it brings us to the next story, and that we talked about in Morocco going to the World Cup, and I think the first game of the World Cup playing with players that came from Europe instead of players that were built at home. The starting lineup is totally, and now we're seeing Morocco blazing. Interestingly, Morocco had beaten Netherlands, the top European side. Yes, Infanitina. If you want to talk about this particular fixture, easily give it to Netherlands. But it wasn't just that Morocco defeated Netherlands. The possession gap, 30-70. 70% for Morocco and 30 for Netherlands. How has the big guns fallen? Talking about Netherlands have become such underachievers at World Cup stages. But when it gets to a point that an African team is dominating the Netherlands team, the Dutch team, come on, that orange color should speak for something. Well, but congratulations, Morocco.
Congratulations, Morocco. This is not the days of Johan Cruyff. I think football has evolved over the years. Morocco, for me, I think they're better team than the Netherlands. If I'm a sport investor,
quality players, in terms of team of football.
For me, Netherlands, the best player has to be Cody Gakpo. And look at what he's doing for Liverpool. Not who do you call out to be the Netherlands? Van Dijk, who's 35.
Okay.
The man is old. He's not really the Van Dijk we used to know 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was
Netherlands team. If Nigeria gets to face Netherlands, I would have so much hope that Nigeria can get something out of the game. So I was not surprised.
The memory in Fanitina. Don't mention Nigeria in this conversation because the next source means the World Cup.
Kudos to the Moroccan side. I feel they've got one. I remember when was sacked before, maybe 2 months before the World Cup. He was saying, "Come on, do these people really know what they are doing?" But it looks like the Moroccan Federation know what they are doing exactly. The same thing Wahabi's doing with this Moroccan side was the same thing the previous manager was doing. He came through the youth ranks, took the team to the 20 World Cup, and then moved straight to the national team. The same thing for the current manager. The same thing. So it looks like they have a progression. They bring managers who do it on the 17, on the 20 levels, take them to the national team, go there and do what you have to do.
I think they've got just one style. I mean, if you look through the under 17 level, they play expressive football. You never see Morocco come all out and play against you. About that against the Netherlands side just yesterday, the early hours of this morning.
They lent it against Brazil.
So
sustaining it has been the concern. Being able to sustain it into extra times count for something.
That shows the strength and the quality of the Moroccan side at the moment. And I think that win this morning rather, was actually deserving against the Netherlands side.
Deserving against the Netherlands side, the coach of the side, Mohamed Akobi, Moroccan coach, has come out clearly to say, he said, I dreamed that Issa Diop was going to score an important goal, but I didn't know it was going to be today. I told him after the match he deserves it so much. Issa Diop has been absolutely fantastic,
Absolutely.
and
Just wish
and he's black. That's what we're talking about. African teams are randomly moving so quickly, trying to get all players that are of decent, and it makes sense. Ghana did that as we talk about the French national team alone. Let Africa take that conversation. Quickly, we'll switch here and talk about the games we're having today, and immediately after that, we talk about before we call it quit this morning. Ivory Coast take on Norway, and similarly, the French side against Sweden. Well, today we take Ivory Coast against Norway.
Yeah.
The chance for another African side. Who came out to talk about, I think, One Starger. Yeah. Came out to talk about Ivory Coast style. He said not too tactical, but lots African.
Yeah.
I don't know what he cares about that.
He
No
didn't
one
say not
cares.
to, he said not tactical.
Not tactical.
They are
But
brilliant.
we don't care about it.
Yeah.
They're playing the African
Absolutely.
system. If you call Brazil samba, let's call Africa what it
For a
is.
reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Africa, Ivory Coast, African team against Norway.
I think at the moment, Ivory Coast to play physical football, really combative the way they play. We've seen it over
Especially
time.
that midfield.
Absolutely. So I think it would count for something for them if they are to overshadow the Norwegians, especially in midfield, and then capture it and get it to their PC attacking wingers, Yan Yomande, and the likes of Ahmad Diallo, the rest of the players. At the moment, I think the biggest threats rather would be Erling Haaland in this game, and maybe Martin Odegaard as well. But if you look at the entire crop of the Ivorian setup, I think they've got quality in every department to match the Norwegian side 2-2. However, I'm still tipping the Ivorian side to get a victory over Norway.
How many tips regarding Ivory Coast? One interesting player for Ivory Coast would be Diomande. According to information we're getting, he's brushing aside links to Paris Saint-Germain and wants to focus on Norway showdown. We're going to see what happens for him even further. I'm funny saying the next game would be the French side against Sweden.
Too easy.
Yeah, I'm funny saying too easy. The French side has been quite dominant in this competition, but the Swedish side, it can be resilient at time. No surprises for you in this
They have
one.
never been resilient at this World Cup. They've never been.
I'm saying they can be.
Well, we've yet to see that. So I don't think they have any answers to the French national team. If you want to hold Kylian Mbappe, there's Michael Olise. You want to hold Michael Olise, there's Ousmane Dembele. We've seen both of them, all four of those attackers at this World Cup.
Yeah.
Ousmane Dembele had a hat-trick. Kylian Mbappe had a good game where he scored 2 goals. Across that team. So I think the Swedish national team would have no answers to their questions.
Is there anything possibly stopping the French the way they're going? Men have tipped them to go all the way to win the World Cup. The way they're performing, especially with the attacking side. You think which team can stand the French side?
I don't know for now. Let's see how you're. I want to count my eggs before they
You
have.
don't trust Lionel. You don't trust Lionel Messi. Everyone say Leo is the best footballer in the world, alongside Argentina, defending champion in that regard. You don't trust Brazil. You don't trust Spain. Pointing, I say he doesn't want to count his eggs so early. Well, quickly. It takes us to the next conversation. It would be about Chelsea, as Chelsea say, the new Manchester City boss Enzo Maresca to pay compensation for a move. Well, today it take us through all of the last season, what transpired. Enzo Maresca was relieved of his duty, resigned at the end of it. But it sounded like it was a good move for him. Then he moved to City, but now compensation are being demanded. I heard about 17 million pounds, but every now and then it seemed like the price, the number is changing. I don't know. It's still 17 million pounds.
Yeah, 17 CT are expected to pay Chelsea, but that's also not part of the compensation Enzo Maresca will pay Chelsea because he deliberately resigned and left his position after there were rumors that he would be succeeding Pep Guardiola, and one would actually argue Chelsea was somehow struggling at that time of his resignation, but that wasn't the reason why he resigned. He actually resigned about the speculations linking him to Manchester City. One would look at it and say this is really unprofessional, because if he had really wanted to leave Chelsea, officially, it should have been by mutual consent. There should have been understanding between the club side and himself before leaving. Resigning, putting his resignation
what's the difference in terms of mutual consent and resigning?
Just putting in, his resignation later, irrespective of what Chelsea, has to say. He just wants to leave the his position. But by mutual consent, there should have been an agreement saying, okay, take this, let me leave before he buy himself out of contract. But he never did that. So I think that's where the Chelsea comes in, and they have every right to take this matter to court. And they will
so in other words, what Chelsea is saying, we still have a contract with him.
Absolutely.
That's why he resigned.
Yes.
Is that it?
That's what I say at the moment.
But it doesn't really make sense.
He was still, what do they call it? He had the right to pay out from Chelsea because
He didn't pay out.
yeah, so, but he didn't do that. So that's just the case. Now, I think for Chelsea,
Okay. In other words, what you're saying is, if you want to leave, you pay Chelsea and leave.
that's the thing. You're
He
buying out
signed
your
for your
contract.
contract. He still
Even when you get sacked, Manchester United will still pay Ruben Amorim. You get
Which means
It wasn't about Manchester City. You know,
so
tap
in other words, was Chelsea still paying him? That's why he resigned.
they were supposed to pay him, but Chelsea said they're not
they're
going
not
to pay
paying
him. That's
because
the
he
thing.
resigned.
Because he resigned. But normally he should still be, licensed to get some money from Chelsea because he was still under contract from them.
So
You get-
why is he having to pay Chelsea now?
Because the move was all very, very fraudulent. Manchester City
Okay,
went
because of
Manchester
probably
City contract with him.
a case of tapping.
Exactly.
More like
yeah.
tapping.
And he also cost Chelsea a whole lot by finishing outside the European sport and all of that.
So it costs Chelsea because of it.
So
Because the
it's
other
painful.
argument, I'm into some political discussion, so I understand. The other argument would be the rights of the coach
Yeah,
to continue to work or not.
I understand.
Because there's a contract bind you totally. So even if you don't want to, you don't feel like working again, you can leave.
He just threw in a resignation and left. He didn't even go to the table
We-
to see. That's
we
what
don't-
Chelsea
we
are
don't-
talking about.
I don't understand the clauses involved in his contract.
Yeah.
Probably would have been different from what we're seeing at the moment. Yeah, I understand he has to leave.
So at the detriment of a club side, it pays out this way. Oh, a time is out. It pays out this way that it has to pay the club side some compensation for leaving the club. Often than not, when there's a mutual understanding at the end of it, it's the club side that pays the coach. And most often, and because the club side sacks the coach and say, you can't be our coach any longer. Performances are bad, so they have to pay the coach. And this one, the coach is saying, well, I don't like you anymore, I have to go. And we have a contract with you, so you have to pay the club side for interesting times and have to do a business. As we close, Harry Kane focus on Bayern Munich and England with informal approach by Barcelona. Arsenal target value at British record £130 million by Arsenal as Batman rejects Arsenal interest in squad. Liverpool target Diomene. I would prefer to join Paris Saint-Germain, but he's saying he's focusing on the World Cup game against Norway. And Chicago Fire finalizing deal for Robert Lewandowski. Well, to David, fantastic talk. Thank you for being a part of it. We have to draw the curtain here. Fanitina, thank you. And from me and all the team in Spectrum TV, we say ciao, ciao.